Hello, and welcome to another session of virtual gentle chair yoga with Keith Beasley. My name is Batu Blumenthal. I'm the branch supervisor of the Putterham location of the Public Library of Brookline. Virtual gentle chair yoga with Keith Beasley is sponsored by the Friends of the Brookline Public Library, who sponsor this program and programs like it. As always, participation in this online yoga program could result in injury. Not all exercises presented here are suitable for everyone. These exercises are not intended to substitute for proper medical care or advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from participation in this program. And with that, I give you Keith.
Thank you. Namaste. Good morning. I wanted to start out by reading something. This is from The World According to Mr. Rogers. I like Mr. Rogers. So often when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else. I felt that many times. My hope for all of us is that the miles we go before we sleep will be filled with all the feelings that come from deep caring, delight, sadness, joy, wisdom, and that in all the endings of our life we will be able to see the new beginnings. And that seems to fit so well because things are a little disordered these days, and kind of comes in waves. And we've begun a new year, and also the days are getting longer. So you may have noticed that. So spring is coming, even though it's freezing cold out today. So a couple things. Remember to drink a little bit of water. Keep your throat from getting parched. And also wear loose, warm clothing. Especially important in the wintertime, especially if it's cold where you are. It's so important to be warm when we do our practice. So let's begin. We're going to begin with the breath. And this will help warm us up and also bring some relaxation at the same time. So we're going to work on the yogic three-part breath, we call it. So it's really an extension of abdominal breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. We're going to start by just resting the hands on the belly. And as we breathe in, we'd like to be able to feel the belly moving in and out. And if you're familiar, with diaphragmatic breathing, of course, you can do it however, you can modify however you want. But with the hands there, we can really feel the belly moving in and out with the breath. I'm sitting up nice and tall. It's important to extend the spine. So axial extension of the spine with limited effort here. So we're extending the spine and we're balancing ease and effort as we feel the belly moving under the hands. So that's the first part of the three-part breath. The second part is the belly moves just like that. And then we move up into these lower ribs here. You can find your lower ribs if you palpate up the belly, you'll find the ribs right here. So we want to feel those ribs expanding and then also receding, going back, and then the belly softens and goes back. As you might even feel as you exhale, the belly firms up a little bit as it moves back towards the spine. So that firmness is going to help push out the air when after we inhale. Perhaps imagining that this area is like a balloon and we're filling the balloon and then we're letting the air out. So there's a softness. When we fill a balloon, it's very smooth. And of course, balloons are soft, they're pliable. And you're always welcome. You could extend the fingers up or put the thumb on the lower ribs. You could even just move the hands up if you wanted. Kind of your choice here. I kind of like to spread the hands out, so I still feel I feel the whole area moving. You might even notice how the breath wants to move up into the chest, into the upper chest. We're going to go there next. So for that, place one hand right in the middle, just below the sternum, and the other one right at the top of the sternum. The collarbones are right here, just beneath the neck, and the sternum is right here. And if you rest your hand there, as you breathe in, there's a movement in the belly, movement in the ribs, and a little bit of movement in the upper part of the chest. Most of the movement's happening down below in the belly. And then a little bit less is happening in the ribs, and even less is happening up top. Up top is where the apex of the lungs are. So the lungs actually sort of a triangular shape. They go pretty high in the chest, but we don't get as much movement up there because, well, there's all the anatomy, there's all the the bony structure and the musculature there doesn't allow for as much movement. Feel the feet connecting with the earth. So we feel stable. Feet, we feel balanced on the left and right side. The spine is extending up. The face and eyes are soft. Feel free to close the eyes here. And if you close them, keep the eyelids relaxed. Keep the face relaxed. Release the jaw and the tongue and the throat. It's as if the breath is like a wave, a gentle wave at the beach, just very gently washing up the sand. Very gentle wave. Like you're on the bay side at the Cape during the summer. Usually it's pretty calm there. And that water, that wave is rising up, and it ends up at the where your hand is on the upper chest. So anytime throughout the day, if you have a couple of minutes, especially if you've been running around, just sit down, even just a minute. You could just count 3 breaths or 5 breaths or 10 breaths. This diaphragmatic breathing, enlisting the belly and the ribs. You don't even have to do the upper chest. Sometimes it takes a little longer to get that part into the process. Just work on the belly and the lower ribs. And see how you feel. Shoulders are relaxed. It's like a break. Think of it as we'll call it a breath break. A B and B, a breath break. Sitting up nice and tall. And let's add the sound of Om now. So Om is a traditional sound in yoga. It doesn't really have a meaning. It's 3 sounds that we do one after the other to make this what we call Om. So the first one is the Ah sound. So the mouth is nice and wide open. It's Ah. And then the O, think of the O shape make the O the fish, like a fish mouth. And the last one is closing the mouth and feeling the vibrations in the throat with the like the buzzing of a bee. We run them all together very smoothly. More important to be smooth and gently going from one sound to the other than to be loud. Be soft rather than loud and choppy. And then over time, if you practice, it gets easier. So let's try it. We'll do a sea of ohms since we're not together, and we begin together, but we continue at our own breath pace. So whatever you're breathing is, and you can bring your hands down if you want. You don't have to, but whatever your normal breath. So it's a normal breath in and out. We are making the sound on the exhalation. So it really just replaces the exhalation. Try not to overdo it. It's important to stay balanced, ease and effort balanced. So let's breathe in together and begin. Relaxing the shoulders and the arms and the hands. Natural breath in. Face and eyes are soft. Spine's extending up. Keep going at your own pace. We'll make this one the last one. Relaxing the shoulders. Notice the silence. Making the Om sound as a way to promote inner peace. Promote inner peace and focus our attention and concentration. Let's bring the palms together. I had some sun breaths now. So we're going to start moving a bit with the breath here. So we're going to add the breath, or the movement really follows the breath here. If you wanted to, you could take something and put it between the middle of the thighs. This is a yoga block, something that's lightweight. You could use a rolled towel or even a box of tissues. And this is very gentle, just enough squeezing to keep the block from falling to the floor. And that's going to activate the inner thighs, and it helps to lift the inner arches too, brings our attention down to the feet. And inhaling and exhaling. We adjust the size of our circles to our shoulders. So some people will be able to make big circles, and some people it'll work better to make small ones. It's that circular movement and that stability in the shoulder joint. So we want the shoulder joint to feel like it's stable. If you feel like your arm is moving out of the joint, then the circle's probably too big. So we want to have stability and mobility when we move. We need them together. So the musculature especially provides the stability. That's why it's so important to make sure the muscles are toned. And let's a couple more times, and then we'll bring the palms together. Very gently press the palms, release the hands down slightly. And at some point, the palms are going to start to come apart at the bottom. So sit up tall. And when they start to come apart, don't go any further. And feel the fingertips pressing into each other. And let's go the other way. We'll inhale, sit up tall, and then exhale and let the hands float down and up and around. So we're going the opposite way now. The breath is still leading the movement. So we're inhaling up, exhaling down. Oh, you can even give a sigh if you want on the exhalation. A sigh of relief. Great way to rid ourselves of tension. You might notice there's a little rocking in the hips going on, rocking, the sitting bones are moving a little bit. You might notice the chin lifts up and down on its own a little bit. But I'm focusing my attention on the chest and the circling of the arms, so the thoracic area of the spine, and then bringing the hands down. And try a little something to warm up the shoulders a little bit more. So we're going to inhale, bring one arm up and then down. So we're going to go back and forth like this. Try it with the breath. Use the breath to help lift the arm up, and then exhaling, it floats down. The thumb is kind of pointing upwards like you're hitchhiking, and down. And when you reach up with the arm, think about extending the spine at the same time. So there's a little lift coming from the sitting bones up through the spine. And if one arm feels okay and you want to try two, you could do that as well. Thinking about extending the spine as the arms come up. So the arms add a little bit of extra dimension, extra direction for the spine. As the arms, as the fingertips reach up, the spine lengthens. If your shoulders bother you, try bending the elbows a little more, like this. You can still reach the arms up. You can still even point the fingertips up as if they're moving up towards the ceiling. If you want to make it more challenging, you can begin to bring the elbows a little closer together and straighten the arms more. Some people might even be able to bring the insides of the arms against the ears. It doesn't really work for me, but for some people it will. And remember, we adapt the movement to where we're at. So there isn't one place that's better than the others. It's really, the most important thing is to fit you. It's so important. And let's lower the arms down. Now we're going to add the breath here, inhaling up, exhaling down, and then inhale up, and then turn the head in the opposite direction a little bit, and exhale down, come back. So we're going to go back and forth, very gently turning the neck. If you have neck problems or this bothers your neck, please don't turn your neck. And this movement together, there's such a interconnection between the neck and the shoulders, that this is adds another dimension to the shoulders, to helping to bring mobility to the shoulders, to bring ease to the shoulders, and then come back down. Now let's roll the shoulders. We do a lot of shoulder rolling. This is a great way anytime during the day, especially if you've been sitting at the computer. If you can take a break every 10, 15 minutes, just do a couple of shoulder rolls, and do the other one too with the other direction. So you can do doubles, singles, and alternate directions. So the spine is still extended here. So try to keep the heart lifted. And let's lean from side to side. So we want to bring a little bit more A little bit more work now. We've been working on the shoulders and the neck, a little more work to the core of the body, a little more energy there, and also develop a little more heat. Just like with any exercise practice, we always begin with a warm-up, and that developing heat is very important to minimize the possibility of injuries. If we're cold, it's not a good thing. So it's very important. So if you do find that you're cold, if you're still doing these exercises and you're cold, put on some more clothes, put on a sweater, put on a hat, make sure you have socks, put on shoes, especially in the winter. Our circulation isn't as good in the winter, which means that the muscles don't get as much blood. Sometimes we don't drink enough because we don't feel thirsty. So we might be a little dehydrated. Those are all things to think about and to make sure that you get enough water and make sure that you're warm enough. And you could always lift up a little higher with the knees if that's okay for you. But there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with even just leaning and lifting one heel up a little bit. Just lifting the heel up is okay. And the higher the knee goes, the more challenging it becomes. Don't sacrifice the lengthening, though, for the lifting. You need to be able to keep the spine lifted, the spine lengthened. And we can add an arm to it too if you wanted. Just a nice casual. We were just doing the arm before. Same idea. Lift the thumb up. And if you wanted to, you could lift up and turn at the same time. And this makes it a little bit more interesting. This reminds me a little bit of sort of like running, except we're turning the head. So we're turning the head like we would when we were swimming. We're doing the crawl stroke in swimming. We have to turn the head to take a breath. And then coming back down, I'll slide forward in the chair and circle around. Keeping the heart lifted here. So we can make this more challenging by making our circles bigger. So if this is too easy, make the circles bigger. You can take the hands off the legs. So now the hands aren't supporting the body. But if you need the support, keep the hands on the legs. There's nothing wrong with this. In some ways, I like this a lot because as I notice my arms are bending and straightening with the movement. Almost like a wild animal. Sometimes when they walk, they have that nice rhythmical, very natural movement. Let's go the other way. But you could always want to make it more challenging, make the arms circling around. Let's bring the hands up. Let's go from side to side for a moment. Lifting side to side. And now go ahead and lift up and slowly come back down. So we're going to spend we're going to go so slowly, it's almost as if we're stopping, but we're not stopping. We're just going slowly. You don't have to have the hands up, by the way. You can work with the hands down like this. What I want you to feel, though, is the abdomen, keeping the body lifted as we go from side to side. If you wanted to, you could even add an arm. Be mindful about the chair, though. It's very important to stay in the chair. And I guess you could even try 2 arms if you wanted, like you're going to jump out of the side of the chair. If you need support, bring the hand down on the side of the chair. And this will keep us, a little more stability in the chair. And then one more on each side. So the belly's working here. The belly is firm, supporting the spine, aiding the back muscles. Very important. Let's sit up nice and tall. We're going to do some cactus breaths. Inhale, exhale. I'm going to go back up to the shoulders next. So this is kind of like a modified cactus breath here. We're going to inhale, reach up and look up slightly. Don't drop the head back too much. We don't want to do this. It's hard on the back of the neck. We inhale up, and then we're going to leave the arms and only release the chin down. So my spine is still relatively straight. And then we'll inhale, cactus, and exhale, release the chin down. So you'll notice, and then come back. You'll notice that we're releasing the chin down on the exhalation, but keeping the spine lengthened. So we inhale up, look up slightly, exhale, release the chin down. Inhale, cactus. Exhale, release the chin down, and then come back. So do that a few more times. See if you can get your own rhythm here. Remember, we're following our own breath. So let the movement follow your breath, not rather than the other way around. So the breath establishes the rhythm of the movement. So we're inhaling, arms float up. We exhale, release the chin down, soft face and eyes here. And then inhale and exhale, chin floats down. And then bring the hands back. Take a breath. A couple more times. If you want, you can go right into a flow. So we're flowing up. Inhale. Exhale, release the chin. Inhale, cactus. Exhale, release the chin. Inhale, up. Exhale, release the chin. Keeping the shoulders soft here. That's important throughout the whole exercise. Inhale. So notice that my shoulders don't have to be super high, and arms don't have to be straight. I don't have to be touching the ceiling. I want to keep enough ease in the joints where the movement really feels nice. And exhaling. This will be the last one. Inhale. Exhale, and bring the palms back together. Let's roll the shoulders. We're swimming now. So we're starting with just some single shoulder rolls, and then if you want, you can swim with the backstroke. Little backstroke. And we're letting the body begin to turn, the torso begin to turn. Imagine there's a big belt across the belly from the hip bones down here to the lower ribs, a Santa Claus belt. I guess it's still okay Santa Claus hasn't been gone too long, just a few weeks. And so there's this movement here as we move the elbows back in our backstroke. You also, if your shoulders prefer, you could lower down like this and just move the elbows back. Notice that the legs aren't really moving very much. A little bit, the knees go a little from side to side, but not too much. Excuse me. And then bring the hands back. And we're going to do our crawl stroke now. So beginning, we're just reaching straight out, letting the body turn. It's a natural kind of movement with letting the body turn. If you do swim, you might even feel like laying your ear on the horizontal plane. That's what we would do when we swim. To take a breath, we have to turn the head. And although I'm not turning my head, I'm letting the turning happen in the torso, maybe a little bit in the head, but I'm not trying to turn the head. It's a nice natural movement. And then I can add my crossing like this. If you see the pictures in the Olympics and you watch the underwater pictures and you see them swimming, you'll notice how they reach the arm and it comes across and goes kind of to the other hip, the opposite hip. And maybe you get a little more turning here. The shoulders are relaxed. And let's bring the hands down. So we've been warming up. Oh, let's do the neck before we go down to the feet. Let's inhale, lift the chin. So we've been doing some work in the major muscle group areas, the shoulders, the shoulder girdle area, and also the pelvis. And that's our warm up. So when we warm up, we use the big muscles. They tend to warm us up faster, and they're a nice way to get into the practice. So as you move the neck, be mindful of ease in the neck. So I'm not forcing any of the movement here. Being mindful and then sitting up tall. And then let's tip the head. As you tip, you could add a pillow if you wanted. And let the ear rest on the hand. And then the hand rests on the shoulder. Almost like we're going to sleep. For many of these exercises, especially if we're doing them seated, it can be nice to close the eyes. And don't worry about what it looks like. With the eyes closed, sometimes there's fewer distractions and we can concentrate more on what it's feeling like in our body. Just make sure you feel balanced. If you're going to have the eyes closed, you want to feel comfortable and at ease in the chair. So you want a good sturdy chair. And we want to feel like we're supported. And then come up and let's turn the head from side to side. Keep the throat, the jaw soft here. And the face is pointing straight ahead. So it's as if I'm looking straight ahead and only turning the chin. So the plane of the chin stays in the plane of the same as the plane of the floor. Try not to drop the chin like this or lift it up like this. Sometimes there's a tendency we have these movements. We have patterns of movement that we don't even realize that we do because we're just so used to it. If you do find that you have a pattern and it's not exactly what you want, be very gentle and kind to yourself about changing the pattern. If you find that you do something when you turn your head, there's a tendency to say, tip the head a little bit. Don't strain. If you want to change it, don't strain it to change it. Add a little bit of change. It takes time to repattern movements, especially movements that we don't think about. but it can be done. When we say time, it takes probably weeks, sometimes even months to repattern a movement that is kind of involuntary, that we don't normally think about. And let's sit up nice and tall, and we're going to circle the nose around. So we're going to start with small circles and then begin to make them slightly bigger. Like in the Wizard of Oz, there's the yellow brick road. It starts in the middle and it spirals out. And then let's go the other way. And begin to spiral in. You could even imagine there's a pen on the end of your nose, and that's making the spiral. If there was a page in front of you. And then sitting up nice and tall. Let's roll the shoulders again. I'm not sure you can over-roll the shoulders unless you did them really a lot. I'm going to do one at a time. Letting, as the shoulder moves back and down, you can even let the arms hang. That can be a nice practice too. So the arms are totally relaxed here. The arms and the hands, the fingers, if you gave them a shake like this, they would just be loose. That can be kind of, it can be kind of fun to shake the hands a little and shake the arms a little, and you feel sort of a shaking up here too. But a real softness. And in the beginning, if you're practicing this, it might be a little slow and jerky. If you try to go too fast, it creates tension in the arm, and instead of getting that nice floppy movement quickly, you get a jerky movement with a lot of tension. So be patient and just try a little movement. And then over time, if you practice, it gets easier. And sitting up nice and tall. Oh, so we're going to go down now to, we're going to do all the joints in the body. We're going to make sure they're nicely warmed up. So I'm going to slide back in the chair as I rock my feet. So this is where the bottoms of the feet are rocking back and forth. This might be a place to actually put the block back between the thighs. And that's going to help engage the inner arches down at the bottom of the feet. We want the ankles underneath the knees and the toes pointed straight ahead. And as you rock the feet, you could even slow down a little, feel the bottoms of the feet. So the arches are feeling lifted, and the outside, that C shape on the sole of the foot, on the outside, on the ball, the outside edge, all the way to the heel, that's what we're feeling on the floor. Feel the toes too. And as the weight moves into the heels and you lift the front of the feet up, think about lifting the toes up slightly, as if we were doing this with the fingers. So we've done this before. We can add the hands if you want. Closing, making very soft, a soft fist, and then lifting. So we're engaging these muscles on the backs of the feet and hands. And there's an ease here. There's engagement, but there's that balance of ease and effort. So that's really important in all the movements that we do in our yoga practice. We're not straining. If you're straining, if you're winded, if things are cramping, if there's any pain or real discomfort, then please skip the movement and wait for the next one. And let's do the ankles and the wrists. So we're going to lift the feet. And you could do the feet one at a time. If it's challenging to lift both feet and keep the spine lifted, then do 1 foot at a time. And you know yourself best. So remember, the knees aren't moving here. If you need to start out with the fingers on the knees, that's okay. Circling around, and then we can add the wrist to it. See if you can keep them in sync so that the fingers and toes are pointing the same. You can also, we were doing this lifting up before like this in the last exercise. You could give a little curl down as they're circling. So my feet, the tops of my feet are actually curling slightly down, as are my fingers as I'm circling. Maybe hard to see here, but it's really more, it's almost like this. We have this kind of movement like this, but as we circle, and the emphasis is going more on this part, I guess you would call it, you call this extension and this flexion for the joint. So it's more the flexion part as we circle. So it goes from a neutral position to a flexed position. Let's go the other way. Without straining. And also have to remember to keep the spine lifted. Keep the spine lifted. Heart lifted. Shoulders are relaxed. And then come back and let's slide back in the chair. Make sure you're fully supported in the chair as we begin to lift up. So starting out, lifting the foot up and extending. We're flexing at the ankle here. The toes are coming back towards the knees slightly. Without forcing though, it's more the shape that we're looking for. And the shape is like this on the foot. Note, so the wrist and the ankle are bending the same. So this is the movement, like this. You could even add, if you want, you can add the arm to it. So you can work just with the legs. So we're doing this step by step. We always want to make sure that the first thing we're doing, we're comfortable with. If you're adding the hand to it and you're unable to engage that flexion in the ankle joint, or if you lose the flexion, then go back to working with the legs. Eventually what happens is we learn to do them as a unit, or as we do them together. Keeping the shoulders relaxed here. It's almost like I'm saying hi. I'm waving with my feet and with the sole of my foot and my hand. Like when you're going to wave hi to somebody and you go, we're not waving though. The foot's just lifting up. But we are opening the palm. I think somebody told me once that the reason that people used to do this was to show that they didn't have anything in their hands, that they were friendly. They didn't have anything unfriendly in their hands. And so we're showing them we don't have anything unfriendly in our feet and hands here. And you could even, if you wanted, you could lift up the arms a little more, and the wrist is tipping back, almost like I'm carrying a tray over my head. Keep the spine lifted though. Adding the breath is another little dimension. Inhaling and exhaling down. You might need to slow down, because remember, we want them in sync. And unless your breath is really fast, you have to slow the movement down. Using that inhalation to help lift and extend the spine. Keeping the belly firm here. So making sure the navel is moving slightly back towards the spine. We need firmness here. At the same time, we still need to be able to breathe. So it's not super firm, but it's firm enough so that it helps to support the spine. And at the same time, there is some movement in the belly. It gets bigger. So the muscles in the belly, we can actually contract them and have them expand at the same time. just like when there's actually all the muscles will do that. We can contract or have them activated and have them lengthening at the same time. And sitting up nice and tall. And oh, if you wanted to, you could add 2 legs. Or you could even take a rest. If you're tired, please take a rest. There's nothing wrong with resting. You could even take a few cactus breaths. I think everybody, if you've been coming to class, you know what that is. Take some breaths that feel right for you, that feel good for you. That's something that's very important to think about, is noticing how we feel when we do these movements. And then we can adjust what we do with what makes us feel good. And that's the whole idea of our practice, is to feel good. We want to feel like things are moving well. We want to feel like when we breathe, we get satisfaction from the breath. Certainly when we don't breathe properly or we don't breathe well, it creates all kinds of tension. It creates a mental tension. And that's why the breath is connected directly to the nervous system. The breath is good, the nervous system is calmer. When the breath is, when we're out of breath, it affects the way that we feel. It affects our nervous system and our brain. And those are pretty well-established facts. You can, if you're interested in a book, The Relaxation Response is a great resource by Herbert Benson, who's a local physician here. I think he still practices, but it's an older book. So it's sitting up nice and tall. And so we started down here. Let's slide forward again and make a few circles before we begin our asanas. So circling around, sitting up tall, and then the other way. And let's begin today we're going to begin with tree pose. So we'll do it twice. First time, I'll show it seated. The second time, standing. And you're welcome to do it either way, either time. So sitting up nice and tall in our mountain pose. Remember in tree pose to breathe and extend the spine. Feel like a tree growing up out of the earth. Step that foot out to the side and then bring the sole of the foot in on the chair leg, or if you're standing, you would bring it to the inside of the calf. And extend the spine up. Lengthen, and then lengthen the arms up. Or even, so you could do 1, 2, or 3. Whichever one you want. Or you could even do all 3. Pausing for a breath with each one. Or just do 2. And then go ahead and lower the arms down and step the foot back. So that's tree pose. Let's do it on the other side. So we want to feel balanced before we begin. So mountain pose, balanced on each side, balanced on each foot, each leg, each shoulder, and then stepping the foot out. Making sure we're facing the front of the room here, or the facing front. And then bringing the sole of the foot in and extending, or bringing prayer position, and then tree position, and then pointing up towards the ceiling, if your shoulders allow that. So make any adjustments you need here as you extend the spine up and breathe. And then go ahead and lower the arms down. Bring the foot back. So the next demonstration will be standing. If you have any balance issues and you want to do standing, please use a chair or have a chair handy. The best setup would be to actually have one behind you and one in front, or a wall is really good too. That way you have the wall behind you and you can have the chair in front. So standing up in mountain pose. And engaging here, the quadriceps, the buttocks, and the belly. So the belly is going in slightly. Buttocks are moving together. The thighs are moving back. Perhaps you can feel the inner arches lifting up when the thighs move back and the buttocks move in and the belly moves back. So there's a firmness, but without overdoing without creating too much tension. So maybe 50% firmness. And that's going to support and allow us to extend the spine up. So this is our mountain pose. The arms are moving down. The shoulders are relaxed down. There's a broadening across the chest, a lifting of the sternum. So as you lift the sternum, there's a tendency for the belly to stick out. That's why we need to really firm up the belly. Keep it in. This creates support for the lower back. Stability, creates stability in the core of the body. And then we'll go ahead and step the foot out. So almost all the weight is on the straight leg now. I'm extending the spine up as I bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf. Or if you're seated, you'll bring it to the outside of the chair leg. And then you can add the arms. Whatever you like. Drishti point can help with balance. Focus your attention, extending the spine up as you breathe. Softening the face and eyes. See if you can even smile here. You can come down whenever you want. A good way to tell if you're ready to come down is if you start to feel a lot of tension in the body. If you're really getting tensed to stay up, it's probably time to come down. Mountain pose again. Standing up nice and tall. Firmness, firmness, firmness. And extending the spine, stepping out. This leg is straight. You can even pat this leg. So if you pat this side, you'll feel a firmness here in the buttocks, in the belly, and also in the thigh. That's your support, extending you up. And then bringing the sole of the foot. The knee wants to feel okay here. So we're not folding the knee so much that it feels uncomfortable. And then we can add the arms, extending up. And finding a drishti point to help with concentration, and that will help keep us balanced. Breathing, extending, extending, breathing. Eyes are soft. And then when you're ready, you can bring the arms down and step down. Let's swing the arms here. Coat sleeves, we call this, like we're swinging the sleeves on our coat. It's just draped over our shoulders. The knees are soft, so if you're standing, you don't want the knees locked here. You want them soft, springy. And they're not bending very much, just a little. Just a very slight bend. And let's go ahead and sit back down. We're going to go back and do triangle pose. So we're going to extend the legs out and extend the arms out. So you probably have to slide towards the front of the chair for this one. Without, we want to feel stable though. So you could also work like this. If you need to sit further back in the chair, work with the legs bent like this. And notice that we have stability here, that triangle shape, whether it's like this or like this. And extending the arms out, extending the spine up. And then reaching out and then letting the arm come down. And then coming back up and doing the other side. Inhaling up, exhaling down. And then one more time. And then let's come up, lower the arms down, bring the feet back, sitting up tall. So we'll do it, the second time we'll do it standing. So your choice as to whether or not you could repeat it seated or you want to try it standing. So for standing today, we're going to keep the feet pointing up or parallel, pointing straight ahead. So we step the feet apart. And it's when you step the feet apart, be mindful about it. Don't jump the feet apart. We're not jolting the body here. We want the body to feel comfortable in the position. So we're stepping the feet apart until we get to a comfortable spot. The wider the feet are apart, the more challenging it will be. And we want it to be a balance, right? A balance of ease and effort. We don't want to be over challenged. And we're going to extend the arms out. So the shape here is really similar to when we were seated. And we're inhaling and then reaching out and bringing the hand down. Inhale up, exhale. We'll go back and forth like that. So follow your breath here. Inhaling on the way up, reaching out, and exhaling on the way down. Seeing if you can keep the torso lengthened on both sides. Try not to curl the torso too much. You might not lean as far, but this helps to keep the back, that keeps the spine lengthened in the position. And you might notice that one side bends a little bit and the other is easier to keep straight as you lean. I mean, everything, we're different on each side. So inhale up, one more time on each side. Inhale up and then exhaling to the side, and then last one, come on up. And then arms down, and go ahead and bring the feet back. Toe healing is nice like this, nice and easy. No straining. You always want to be mindful whenever we spread, whenever the legs are open, we want to be mindful of the hips and the knees. We want them to feel okay. We want them to serve us well. I'm going to do some sun breaths. So inhaling and exhaling. So if you wanted to, you could even continue, if you're standing, you could continue to stand and do your sun breath standing, but we are going to move into Shavasana in just a moment. So your choice here about standing or seated. And then going the other way. And let's settle into Shavasana. So making sure that we are warm enough. So I happen to have a hoodie on. It's a great way to feel really warm and feel sort of safe. The great having a hood on makes us feel um, wrapped up, like we're almost maybe like a baby when we swaddle a baby or we wrap a baby up. They feel it's calming to them. So maybe this is calming to us. But the most important thing is to be warm and comfortable. Whether you're laying down or seated in a chair, you need to be warm and comfortable. And that means that the back of the body is supported either by the back of the chair or even on the floor. Feeling the breath, going back to that feeling of the belly moving in and out. At the very beginning of class, we had the diaphragmatic breathing that we practice. Same thing here, just with less effort. So we have a movement of the belly, movement of the breath with less effort. Shifting the balance now to ease in our practice. Perhaps closing the eyes, softening the face, relaxing the jaw and the tongue and the throat. Letting go of the shoulders and the arms, hands and fingers. Relaxing the torso, the chest, the ribs. Softening the belly, the buttocks, the hips. Relaxing the legs, the thighs, the knees, the shins and calves. Softening the ankles and the feet and the toes. Feel all the parts of the body at the same time they're relaxed. This will complete our practice for today. Namaste. Please, if you have a few extra minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, very beneficial to stay in Shavasana a little bit longer. And then whenever you feel like it, you can get on with the rest of your day. Thank you for practicing today. Namaste.